holy and wonderful and how much I love you. That's what he wants to do. He's trying to get himself in the church. He says to the Laodiceans, when you're lukewarm, you don't want me there because I would shake things up. Suddenly, those people who don't like music would kind of like a little music. And suddenly, those people who don't particularly care for the way people are worshiping would say, you know what, that's the way they worship. That's the way they worship. And I'll just stay out of the way. Some people say, you know what, if they want to dance around, they want to spin around with God, I'm just going to let them do it because God has convicted me that as long as they're not pulling attention to themselves, I just need to stay out of the way. I just need to worship God. I just need to be before Him. He says, stop being this way, folks. We'll not let Him into our abode in this nation. We'll not let Him into our churches. We're limiting ourselves. Folks, in the world of passion, what Jesus is talking about, what we're going to see in the world of electricity, in the world of beyond average, in the world where we won't even look at the internet unless it's something huge, in that world, average is sin. You say, I'm just a typical Christian. He says that is sin. It's not enough to go through the motions. Everything. He goes to church. He does that, Ron, he teaches. Folks, you don't know how many times listen, yeah, spending hours in the week in Word and then getting a lesson ready. But you know what? Before long, it'll become routine, Bubba. Before long, it'll become routine. I can just come in here and give a message, Bubba. And then I'm no better than the lukewarm Christian who just comes to church and sits in the pew and does nothing. We're to renew our fire. We're to renew that fire at all times. Look, it's going to be tough and ridiculed. Look, guys, don't pray for rain and then complain about the mud. Don't pray for rain and then complain about the mud. You can pray for the Spirit of God and then we're going to complain about how He comes. We're going to pray for the Spirit of God to come, for revival to be in this church, and all of a sudden, well, that ain't right. That ain't what's supposed to happen. All those people weeping and crying and on their faces up there at the altar like they want to be seen or something. Folks, listen to me. Don't pray for rain and complain about the mud. It's going to get dirty, and folks are going to be upset, and folks aren't going to like it. You got dreams, folks. You got dreams. I know people, friends of mine, my own wife, everybody. I've had them. Dreams. You've had dreams. And people just come in there and they're going to come against them sometimes, folks. But you just got to say to yourself, you got to say, I'm going to keep moving. It's going to happen. People aren't going to like me. They're not going to like what I'm going to say. I got friends who teach the truth, man. I mean, just teach the truth and they come battling against them, folks. It's going to happen. You can't pray for rain and complain about the mud. Refuse to be average or normal. Folks, everything, I know I got to let you go. Everything good is hard. Everything you want that's good is hard. You want good health? My buddy Scott here, everybody said, man, Scott's lost some weight. Almost 100 pounds, folks. Almost 100 pounds. How do you do it? Work. He teaches 2 aerobics classes. With punching bags and kicks and punches. I mean, some of the toughest stuff you have, 2 of those, 3 times a week. And he eats right most of the time, except on Fridays when we tear up a buffet, and I mean we tear it up. But he does that, and he's lost almost 100 pounds, folks. Everything good is hard. You want a good relationship with your wife or your husband, it's going to be hard. You want a good-looking, healthy body, it's going to be hard. You want a good relationship with God, it's not going to be easy. You got to be on fire. You got to go out there and want it. It's the same thing with my wife and I. If I can't tell she has desire for me, it doesn't feel like she ever does. If I can't tell that, but God wants you, He wants to see you on fire. I wonder what it would look like for you to be zealous. I wonder what it would look like for Ryan to be on fire. I wonder what it would look like. God says, what would that look like? Folks, let me end with a story. I'm not even close, but let me end with a story. A man goes into heaven. And he's looking around and he sees all these famous people and things that had famous Christians, we would say, like the great preachers of old and such. But he looks over and he asks one of the people in heaven, he says, who's that guy? And that guy says, well, that's a great general. A great general? Well, I know military history and I don't know who that is. He said, no, you don't understand. He could have been a great general if he had been. You see, God wants you on fire because He uses those on fire. They may not be equipped to do what He's called them to do, but He'll equip them. But He grabs somebody on fire and He uses them. But sometimes we say, no, I don't want to be criticized, Bubba. I don't want to be beat down. I don't want the obstacles. I don't want the pain. I don't want the mountains. I don't want it to be hard. I don't want to be all that. So all of a sudden, he goes up there and there's somebody in heaven, and Jesus goes, "That's a great preacher." No, that's not a great preacher. I never knew him to be a preacher. That's because he would have been. That's a great businessman who gave tons of money to the church and to missions and to your work, God. And they say, "No, I don't remember him." No. He could have been. She could have been. You could have been. Folks, don't be an also ran. Don't be an also ran. Do you know what an also ran is? So-and-so won, and this one also ran. Be the one up there leading that thing and fighting and going in the fire. And you go in there with fervency and you go in with the fire because Jesus said, "Look, if you're not that, I'd rather just vomit you out. If you're not that, then I'd rather just vomit you out. Please don't come before me and tell me you're serving me when you're not on fire for me and you're not hot for me." That is what God says. And that's in His Word. Somebody close for us.